Have you ever had a reoccurring dream? I have. Maybe you've had a reoccurring dream that just haunts you, probably from your worry. Stick with me because I'm going to tell you the dream I had. One time I had a reoccurring dream, and it's interesting how God used that dream to shift my focus from what was unhealthy to what was healthy in terms of my finances and my future. My name is Scott Gossenberger. I'm so glad you're joining me in this ongoing conversation about experiencing God's abundant life through not worrying about our finances. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so that you can be updated about, well, the different things that we're talking about over the next several weeks. So here's my story. Here's my dream. I was a youth pastor at the church that I grew up in. I just got the position as the youth pastor, and I was excited. I had a calling into ministry. The problem was that the pastor had gotten involved in some bad things. And my dad was on the board, and my new father-in-law, I'd only been married about a year, was on the board, trying to ask the pastor to take a year off to be rehabilitated. That pastor did not want to do it. Now, I'm on staff. The pastor's my boss. My father and my father-in-law are trying to ask the pastor to step down. Well, there was a lot of tension, right? And I thought every time I came into church, the office at the church, I thought this was going to be my last time there. This is going to be my last day. So I started having these dreams. I dreamt that I was coming to church and I forgot to put my pants on. So I'm at church in my underwear and I'm hiding from the pastor. I don't want him to see the fact that I came to church without my pants on. I had that dream over and over again. I came to the realization that I was actually fixing my heart not on Jesus. I was fixing my heart on my job. I was afraid that I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't be able to provide for my young marriage, my young family. I was afraid that my dream of being a youth pastor would now fade away. It actually placed those things as an idol in my life. I decided that it was time to just give that up, give it away. And so in prayer, I was actually set free from holding on too tightly to my career and to my job and to my finances, and really choosing to trust God. After that, I had one more dream. The dream looked like this. I came to church, and fortunately, I had my pants on. But you know what I discovered? The senior pastor, who I was afraid of, who had all kinds of power and control over me, he came to church without his pants on, and he was hiding from me. After that dream, I never had another dream like it ever again. I'd encourage you to stick with me to the end because I'm going to give you a tip that, if you remember it, will help you be free from the worry of finances. So look with me, if you would, at Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 6. Here's what he says in verse 24. No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Other versions say mammon. So I would encourage you to write this down, partly because I think there's some help in remembering something when you write it down. But write this down. Your heart is fixed to whatever it serves. So serve what is trustworthy. And that was my issue, right? I was trusting in my job as a youth pastor and trusting in the finances that it provided. But that really is untrustworthy. You may be in a career, in a great career, and you feel like you have great stability. But ultimately, that is not trustworthy. You know what is trustworthy? God is trustworthy. And that's what Jesus points us to in the Sermon on the Mount. He says, don't put your trust in money because money's going to fail you. And you can't serve God and money at the same time. So serve what is most trustworthy. That's what Jesus is saying. When we put our trust in the Lord, he always comes through for us. Now, you may say, well, can't you serve both, God and serve your career or serve your money? No, not ultimately. ultimately you have to put your service in what is most trustworthy. Let me illustrate it this way. Let's take someone, they're married, and they're having an affair with someone else, and they say, well, I love my wife or I love my husband, but I also love this other person. The truth of the matter is, they don't love either one of them. They certainly don't love their spouse if they are having an extramarital affair, but they also don't love the person that they're having the affair with. You know who they really love? Themselves. And you know who the most untrustworthy person on the planet is? You. You lie to yourself the most. You fail yourself the most. We really aren't trustworthy with ourselves. So where should we put our trust? We put our trust with Jesus. That's what Jesus is saying. Put your trust not in your money, which ultimately is your ability to control the world around you. Put your trust in God. Here's what James says in James chapter 4. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Here's what James is saying. James is saying is, when we don't put our trust in Jesus alone, we're double-minded. We're all over the place. We're actually insecure. So Jesus gives us a solution. If we want to be free from worry, then put your trust in what is most trustworthy. And what can that possibly be except for Jesus? There's a principle I want to give you here at the end. If you'll apply it, it will set you free from a lot of worry. And that is simply this: pray before you pay. Pray before you pay. If you pray before you pay, now I wouldn't say that about everything, but those optional purchases, right, that we have. I would encourage you to do this. This is how I would like you to apply this week. When you're going to make an optional purchase, like maybe it's for clothes, or maybe it's a particular meal, or maybe it's some kind of luxury item, whatever it might be, I want you to pray about it. Pause and see what God might say to you in the silence. When you do that, you're actually saying, God, I'm trusting you, and I'm not trusting myself to make this decision, and make this choice. So pray before you pay. So let me just recap what we've looked at the last 3 times we've been together. Remember, we started out by saying you need to give before you get, and then set a limit before you look. Pray before you pay. If you apply those 3 things, you will be set free from the worry of finances. It's applying God's wisdom to your finances that eliminates your worry. I hope you join me next time where we talk about worry. Well, not when it comes to finances, but other areas that are pretty significant in our life that create worry.